In uncertain times like these, many people are looking for answers. Political crises, environmental disasters, and global pandemics drive many people into questionable groups, and Telegram is full of controversial theories and self-proclaimed saviors. But some people go a step further and break with their normal lives to join a religious group or cult full-time. One of the most dangerous sects in the world lives in the remotest part of Siberia, sometimes under the most adverse conditions. The Church of the Last Testament believes not only in the end of the world and the existence of extraterrestrials. The members also place all their hopes in their leader, Vissarion, who believes he is the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. But behind the eco-sect, as it has been called in the media, lies a dangerous organization that has even been linked to mysterious deaths. That's why today we're going to show you just how extreme the world's most dangerous cult is. You will find out what extreme rules the members have to abide by and who is really behind the self-proclaimed Messiah. The video will be very interesting, so stay tuned here at Wisefool. But let's start with the question of who or what the Church of the Last Testament actually is and who is behind it. The ominous sect is a fairly new community and has existed for about 30 years. Around 5,000 people are said to belong to the sect worldwide, and since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, the number of members is said to have multiplied. They call themselves the Family, and about 4,000 of them live in a remote area of the Siberian taiga, about 4,000 kilometers from Moscow. There they have created 40 villages where they live, according to the strict rules of their leader and teacher, Vissarion, completely self-sufficient from the outside world, sometimes without electricity, running water, or sanitation. In summer, with unbearable heat and millions of mosquitoes. In winter, with freezing cold and temperatures as low as -40 degrees. Most of the followers are Russians, but there are also Bulgarians, Scandinavians, and even Germans. Vissarion, the alleged Messiah himself, lives with his closest disciples on a remote hill in a place they call the Abode of Dawn, or City of the Sun. Until a few years ago, he lived there with his wife and 6 children, but then a 16-year-old follower caught his attention. He separated from his wife and has been living with his new girlfriend ever since. He also had a house built for his mother in the City of the Sun, and she was worshipped like the Virgin Mary until her death. From his hill, Vissarion regularly addresses his disciples in video messages, proclaiming his prophecies of an imminent end of the world in which only they will be spared. However, they must adhere to strict rules, which we will discuss in a moment. He addresses his followers in person only twice a year and comes down from his hill to speak to his disciples in a ceremony. Nevertheless, his presence is felt everywhere, as his pictures hang in every village, and the people worship their new savior 5 times a day. The Church of the Last Testament follows many facets of the Russian Orthodox Church, while combining elements of Buddhism and Taoism. For example, Christmas has been abolished and replaced by a feast on January 14th, the birthday of Vissarion. The biggest holiday of the year is August 18th, the anniversary of Vissarion's first sermon in 1991. But who is Vissarion, and why is he so revered by his followers? The alleged Messiah is actually Sergei Anatolyevich Torop, a former traffic policeman. Shortly after losing his job in his late 20s, he became a regular at a Siberian UFO club and spent some time seeking contact with aliens in space. He later studied psychology until 1991, when he experienced a spiritual awakening and declared himself to be Jesus 2.0. He was only 29 years old at the time. But the new Messiah quickly gathered his first followers and moved with them to the Siberian taiga, far from civilization. From there, he proclaimed his prophecies of a coming apocalypse. At that time, the Soviet Union had just collapsed, and there was great uncertainty among the Russian people. Many had lost their jobs and saw no hope in their lives. The promises of the new Messiah came in handy and found a growing audience. Sergei Anatolyevich Torop changed his name to Vissarion and registered the sect as a religious community with the Ministry of Justice. The first families quickly emigrated to the taiga, sold all their property, and invested all their money in the joint settlement project. At first, it was voluntary, but then Vissarion laid down the first commandments, most of which are still valid today. For example, he forbade the handling of money and bartering among his disciples. The consumption of alcohol, meat, and animal proteins, such as milk or eggs, is still forbidden. And he explained that the slaughter of an animal releases negative energies. He also forbade his disciples to eat semolina and some grains, and they were not allowed to consume vegetable oils or tea. The result was malnutrition, meningitis, and tuberculosis. Many children are also said to have suffered from rickets, a bone disease caused by malnutrition. He also established rules for private partnerships, declaring that a woman was not complete without a man. He therefore abolished monogamy in his community and declared that a man could have as many wives as he wanted. Triangular relationships developed in the community, and some families broke up. Not only that, but Vissarion continued to interfere in the private lives of his disciples, at first even forbidding the children to attend school. He preached to his followers that they had nothing more to learn as long as they believed in him. For the same reason, he forbade his followers to go to the doctor, since commandment number 37 states that all illnesses are due to spiritual disharmony. Belief in Vissarion and the Church of the Last Testament would therefore be enough to get well or not get sick in the first place. The fact that Vissarion himself flew abroad several times for treatment has not yet been criticized by his own followers. Among outsiders, however, these teachings were more than controversial, and doctors and physicians repeatedly called for this controversial sect to be banned. This was mainly because the sect was repeatedly associated with seriously ill or even injured children. However, law enforcement officials were said to be extremely concerned. They apparently feared that banning the sect would cause a catastrophe and that the members would sacrifice themselves for their messiah. They did not intervene, but from then on, Vissarion reacted more moderately, officially renaming his sect the Tubercle Eco-Settlement. He also began to allow visits from doctors to appease the investigating authorities. Today, the sect members still live according to the strict rules of their leader. However, he has now allowed the children of the community to attend school. Instead of relying on government schools, however, Vissarion uses his own teachers and teaching materials, and these are strictly aligned with his commandments and worldview. In addition, the students are segregated by gender, and while the boys either study in a monastery or learn a trade, the girls are taught how to be good housewives for their future husbands. They are not allowed to work or earn their own money. Instead, they are expected to follow their husbands around, keep house, and ideally have lots of children. According to Vissarion, things outside the home are not a woman's domain, and only if she submits to these strict rules can she live in the community. Anything else would only lead to disharmony. In the last 2 years, law enforcement has become increasingly interested. Serious crimes have been reported in the media, and several people are said to have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The now 60-year-old religious leader is accused of creating an illegal organization that extorts money from its members. There have also been allegations of financial fraud, and last year, the authorities finally took action. More than 50 police officers reportedly swooped in with helicopters and arrested Vissarion and 2 of his disciples. The 3 were taken to a prison in Novosibirsk, where he is still awaiting trial. If convicted, he faces 12 years in prison. Meanwhile, the followers of the Church of the Last Testament still believe in their leader's innocence and await his return. Until then, they plan to stay in Siberia and prepare for the end of the world. And that's it for our video. Let us know what you think about Vissarion and the Church of the Last Testament in the comments. Otherwise, like this video if you enjoyed it, and see you next time here at Wiseful.